Welcome first-time listeners and returners to the Sports Deli, where thoughtful conversations and insightful guests are always tops on the menu. Join Dr. J and myself, Hootie Hoot, as we continue our discussion on contemporary social, educational, and sport issues. If you want to send us an email, feel free to do so at thesportsdeli@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at Mike Hootner or on Twitter at Michael Hootner. Now grab your favorite bagel or deli sandwich and favorite beverage, and let's do this together in the Sports Deli. The Sports Deli is sponsored by Sport RX, the leader in sport prescription eyewear. Give them a buzz at 888-831-5817 and let them know the Sports Deli sent you for your 10% discount. Or if you order online, you can go to sportrx.com and enter the code DELI10. That's DELI10. If you have any questions, you can email them at info@sportrx.com, or there's a live chat feature online and you can talk with a live optician. And what separates Sport RX from all the other companies out there, not only do they have live opticians that you're going to be speaking with, their knowledge about your specific needs is hands down second to none. Whether you're a regular golfer, you're a hack, or you're a pro golfer, whether you're playing high school or college football, or you're a professional athlete, you're out walking with your kid and your dogs, whatever your needs are for men, women, or kids, they will take care of you. So again, give them a call at 888-831-5817 or go online at sportrx.com. And now back to the Sports Deli. All right, let's do it. John, you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, let's rock and roll. We're joined by Heath Bell, former Major League Baseball All-Star who hails from Oceanside, California, who attended Tustin High School where he played 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball. He went to Santa Ana Community College where he was named an All-American as a freshman. His father was a former Marine. He used to ride his bike to school with his kids when he played for the Padres. He used to be the setup man for Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman before becoming the closer himself. And as the closer, he would run out to the mound from the bullpen, accompanied by the song Blow Me Away by Breaking Benjamin, also known as Bell's Hell, a play on Trevor Hoffman's famous Hell's Bells. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's married to his amazing wife, Nicole, and a proud father of 4. He's currently coaching youth baseball down in Texas. His cousin is former Duke basketball player Eric Meek. He wears a size 13, and you can find him on Instagram and Twitter at HeathBell21. Welcome to the Sports Deli, Heath.
Heath.
I feel like we're in a Psycho movie right now. We're looking at the ceiling fan.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
I'm at my mother's house.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
I can get you on the naughty list is what your shirt says. Did I read that correctly? That's outstanding.
Very nice.
This is my hat.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
My kids got me that about a year ago.
Cool.
That's awesome. Shout out to Terrence Tucker, my former player who put us in touch with each other. So great guy, and been with the Padres organization for a while now. T-Tuck.
Thanks for having me.
Great.
Awesome stuff. All right. Hey, listen, so you and I have something in common. And it's sort of funny to put me in the same sentence as you, but there's a little bit of seriousness to it because you played junior varsity baseball in high school as a junior.
Yep.
And so I just want to ask you, because for me, I played junior varsity baseball and basketball as a junior. And I got a lot of crap for it. And it was like, what's the point? And I was like, man, I just want to play. And so I don't know how it was viewed when you were playing, but I think it's amazing that you did that. But talk about, what that was like for you to have to do that. Maybe your friends were on varsity at that point.
Yeah, just about all my friends were on varsity. I got an opportunity to be on varsity and probably not play or go to JV and play all the time. And I chose to play all the time because my freshman and sophomore year, I was on the freshman team basically both years. And I really sat the bench. I never really played. So when I got an opportunity to play, I chose that over just being on varsity so I could get the letter and have that status to be on varsity. I broke up with a girlfriend. because I said I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. And she's like, you're not even on varsity
Oh, wow. One of
that
those.
year. And I just went, okay, we're done.
Awesome.
Kind of cut and dry. That was kind of the last straw for me. And then I just, my coaches told me this is kind of unfair. We have a varsity kid on our team, but we're on JV. So, and then it just, I think our varsity team, the coach didn't really believe in me. Even my senior year, he was like, you're going to be our fourth pitcher on varsity. And we played 4 tournaments before our season started. And I was the only one 4-0 when I was supposed to be the worst starter out of everybody. And I turned out to be the best starter. And I don't think he really liked that, because he always pushed for other guys to be the head guy. So it was just a stepping stone of my career, my life.
Yeah, so you talk about that experience, and we've had a lot of guests on. Jay Billis has talked about this, and others. There's a lot of guys that you played with that didn't go and play anywhere else. That was their last experience. And you're coaching now. You're taking over for the coach who had to get a job because of the pandemic. And what have you learned from coaching, so that a lot of the kids you're coaching even now, or when you played, this is their last experience. It might be their only experience. And, you want to make it the best time of their lives so that they can look back on it and, be grateful that they shared space with you. What did you learn from that? And what are you doing now from that experience to make it great for these kids?
Well, what I've learned is, first of all, they don't know exactly everything that I talk about, like the phrases like, go do this. And I'm just like, oh, wait, I got to tone it down. I got to simplify it. So I'm getting better at that. And I've learned that, baseball is just a game that I've always thought, and I've always loved playing the game, and it should be fun. So no matter what we do, we got to have fun doing it. And I try to incorporate everybody in doing stuff. And then what I try to incorporate the kids that aren't playing very much, I try to tell them, okay, this is what I'm thinking about doing. You're going to be my hitter in the 6th inning if this situation comes up. So be ready for it. And I follow through with what I tell the kids. So I don't give up on any of the kids. Like right now, I just happened to talk to one kid that is defensively, by far, he could be in the big leagues right now defensively, with his arm, playing shortstop, the way he moves his feet, the way he just reads the ball. And then I just talked to him yesterday about, don't get discouraged. Like, these other guys are going to start. They're going to get the first opportunity, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get an opportunity, so just be ready when it comes. Don't get discouraged. We all know that you need to get better hitting. So work on that. If you want to hear my story, that nobody ever thought I was any good. Even when I got into pro ball and I got to the big leagues with the New York Mets, I had some coaches tell me, you're going to be the guy that's going to fill in for guys that are hurt in the big leagues. You'll have a good career in AAA. You'll make some money, but you'll never have a career in the major leagues. So just embrace your role. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, we just don't see a future in you. And I'm like, wow. So you just already cut me in your head. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I try not to do any of that with these kids, and they're in high school. So, hopefully all these kids get a chance to go off to play to college, but the reality is probably, 40% of them are probably not going to play past high school, unfortunately.
So did you reference any Major League Baseball players or show them film of people that didn't have success and then they turned it around because they were willing to grind?
A little bit, but also I show them a lot of guys that the first year they're really good, and then they kind of ease off on the gas. So what Johnny Franco told me once, he goes, when you get to the big leagues, you think you finally established and you finally made it and you can ease up. That's not true. When you get to the big leagues, you got to work twice as hard as you were. You were working harder than anybody to get to the big leagues. And then when you get to the big leagues, you got to work twice as hard, because every year you get older. The minor leagues stay the same age. They're all young 20s. And it's always when you're in the minor leagues in AAA, you're like me in the bullpen. There's 7 guys in the bullpen. I want to take one of those guys' jobs. Yep. So, but when you get to the big leagues, you have the 7 guys in AAA trying to take your job, and you have the 7 guys in AA trying to take your job. They always get younger and you always get older. So you got to work harder and smarter. And I reference to that a lot, and what Billy Wagner told me over the years, and Doug Brokel, a little bit of what Trevor Hoffman told me. And then I was very blessed to have Mike Piazza and Greg Maddox and Pedro Martinez and Tom Glavine as my teammates. And I can name a few more. Yeah. So it's where I always would talk to them, and very fortunate. It was unfortunate when I got to the big leagues. I had more in common with the older guys because I had 3 kids by the time I got to the big leagues.
Wow.
So they kind of took me under their wing, and I didn't act like a young kid. I acted like more of a mature veteran, they told me. Like John Franco and Mike Stanton, when I first got to the big leagues, did not know that I've never been in the big leagues until like 3 weeks after I got to the big leagues. That we got to talking or something, and they asked, well, what are the teams you played with? And I said, this is the only team. And they were like, what? You're a rookie? I'm like, yeah, you didn't seem like a rookie. So because I just went about my business and worked hard and did what I needed to do. And I wasn't like in awe. So, I figured the game in AAA and the big leagues was the same exact thing. So my first 2 months in the big leagues, I never looked in the stands. I really never did. I just always focused on the field, just did my job, work on my pitches, trying to get people out, and, just let it go from there.
You are listening to an interview with Heath Bell, former Major League Baseball All-Star, who, as you heard just a few moments ago, first broke into the major leagues with the New York Mets in 2004. He was moved to the Padres in San Diego from 2007 until 2011. He went to the Miami Marlins for a year in 2012, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks for a year in 2013, and ended his career with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 2014. Again, he was a 3-time All-Star. He was a 2 times National League Rolaids Relief Man Award winner in 2009 and 2010. He was the Delivery Man of the Year in 2010 and the NL Saves Leader in 2009. Now back to the interview with former Major League Baseball All-Star Heath Bell, right here in the Sports Deli with Dr. J and myself, Hootie Hoop. Well, it sounds like a combination of experiences versus nurture and nature. And your dad was in the Marines. What lessons did you learn from him?
Never to give up. You can, so many things. But he told me this one story that always stuck with me. He said he was in boot camp and he was 18 years old, best shape of his life. And he goes, I'm not a runner though. And they brought in his drill sergeant. Back then, the drill sergeants could beat you up if you weren't listening or whatnot. They could physically punch you. So you were always scared to death of them. And they brought in a marathon runner, and they woke him up at like 5 o'clock and said, we're running all day until all of you drop. And my dad, he said, I was dying at noon. I was dying at 2 or 3. But I told myself, I'm not going to drop. I'm not going to drop. And by 8 o'clock that night, my dad was the only one there left with the marathon runner. And he just said, son, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. Just tell, like, your body might break and your body's going to tell you no, but your mind can say, keep going, keep going. So he just always put that positive attitude in me. And, after high school, I had no colleges interested in me, and I wanted to enlist in the Marines like my dad. He took me out to breakfast the next day, and he said, I'll drive you. Took me out, talked me out of it, and said, go to college, just try. So I tried. I'm Santa Ana College, Rancho Santiago. I made the team on tryouts and did very well. And then, after community college, I had a full ride to go to Cal State Fullerton, but nobody was drafting me, and I really wanted to play pro ball. And the year before, the Phillies said they were going to draft me in the 21st round for $1,000. And I wanted to graduate, get an associate's degree, to be the first one in my family to have a degree, even though associate's degree is not really much, but at least I can say I have one. And just kind of like, I'm the baby of 4 of my family, and nobody went to college in my family. So I wanted to enlist after community college. And my dad said, let me take you out to breakfast. And I was like, you're going to talk me out of this again. So we went out to breakfast, and he just said, just play. You already have got college paid for now. just keep playing. You love the game, right? And I said, yeah, I love the game. He's like, well, don't worry about coaching and don't worry about this. Just go and play. And then I went and played in Alaska collegiate ball. And then the Mets called me up and signed me as a non-drafted free agent for $500, like 2-3 weeks later. And I kind of started the career right there.
Looking at this upcoming season, am I crazy that I see it could be a potential strike coming up? Because here's my take, is that the owners don't want to play until there's fans in the stands. That may not happen until July, which would be, let's say, 100 games. You're only going to, and you're a former player, and I don't know your role when you were if you were with the players union and all, but think about this back in the day. What would you have done if you were in the last year of one of your contracts and you were now going to only get paid 100 games instead of 160 when you're ready, 62, when you're ready to go now, because the owners don't want to do all this over again with the empty stadiums and all that. This is before the big next year where the big debates are going to happen, because there's will be a new contract on the table with the players.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. I was very active in the union. It's hard because, we always say the owners and the players, fight against each other. We don't like each other. It's not necessarily true. The players don't want to get caught up into signing a bad contract. Everybody's trying to make money. Sure. The owners want to make money, and they're not going to make money unless people are at the stadiums. And like this past year, let's just look at football real quick. I think it's kind of really unfair how some cities have fans and some cities don't have fans.
Right.
I'd like to see them play. I think we could, have fans. Maybe let's just put so many in the second deck and third deck, maybe no fans in the lower decks, and just minimum. But yeah, it's definitely different. Like I'm out here in Texas and I got to go to the playoff games up in Ranger Stadium. But it was kind of funny to watch because San Diego was the other playoff and nobody got to go there.
Right.
But out here in Texas, we could go watch the games. So, and we were social distancing. They zip tied 3 or 4 seats in between every 4 seats. So, and they staggered them. So and people right in front of you, there was nobody in front of you. It was all staggered. And I thought they did it beautifully and did a great job at it. And we're sitting there. We had to wear a mask and everybody complied. So it's hard because every state is different. Right. And that's the worst part about this, pandemic, this mask thing or whatnot. There's no one way of doing it. Right. So in baseball, gosh, I hope they play like 140 games. They just have they start in May. That's what I'm really hoping for. And, so yeah.
How did you going back? How did you went to the World Series? How did you think the overall season went, the 60 games and, everything went, and how would you have taken that as a player and having to handle all that?
Gosh, it would have been interesting not hearing the roar of the crowd or anything like that. It would have reminded me of high school or college, but, or even some minor league cities. It's just, I think it helped a lot of the young guys out. So like say the team, the Padres, they had a lot of young guys and they didn't, nobody like, I'll give you an example. Like Machado had a really good year.
Yeah.
But if you remember the first couple weeks, Machado was not hitting well at all. He was hitting like 190, low 2s. If the fans were there, they'd be booing the crap out of him. Right. And the young guys, if they make a stupid error or a mistake, that some of them do, and you always do because you're young, they would really get on you. Like, come on. Well, that would take a toll where, they didn't have any of that. So I thought it helped the young guys out, and maybe some of the veteran guys, they didn't have to worry about all that fan jubber of booing and, stuff all that jarring. You love the cheers, but booing's right there. And I probably just tried to do the best I could.
I'm an old time baseball fan back with Eddie Murray and Cal Ripken and all that. And when the games were 3.5 hours and reasonable. And one of the things I think is killing the game is, I think Tony La Russa's destroyed it. with, you were a setup for Trevor Hoffman back then, and then were a closer in your career. Let me ask you this: how do closers have a mentality that they hate coming in tie games?
I'm kind of the old school way. It's kind of like, well, this team is, they have a lot of lefties. They pull the ball. Well, my best player is the shortstop. I'm going to go put him at second base.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I take it. So you got to have that. Now, if you're going to bring in your closer in the 8th inning, he should be the 8th and 9th inning.
Right.
I just don't see closers nowadays. Like, closers are different breeds. That's the easiest way I can say it. They say it's like the screws are loose somewhere. Right. And I think my wife would definitely say there's something loose with me. I'm different than everybody else. Not saying stuff wise, just mentally. And I believe nowadays they're not built the same, or like maybe me, I was kind of found a diamond in the rough, like where you didn't see it on the outside, but eventually you saw it. And then the San Diego just like polished it and got me to be a closer, where in the minor leagues, I was great at that job, but some teams just didn't want to put me there. And it's not that closers don't want to come in when it's not a save opportunity. When it's tie game or a save opportunity, it's kind of the same thing, because you're on the line. You got to be perfect. If you're not perfect, you're going to blow it. So that mental part. And I just don't think the closers nowadays, not all of them, because there's still some great ones out there, but some of the newer closers, they're just put in that role because, like Tony La Russa, and I believe some of the stuff he's done has ruined the game, like the clock and all that stuff. But it's they go with the hot pitcher in the bullpen. So if you go with the hot pitcher in the bullpen, you don't know if he's closer material. You just know he's doing really well at that time. Mm-hmm. So they label him as a closer, but I don't label him as a closer because, I mean, Johnny Franco was a different breed. Trevor Hoffman was a different breed. Billy Wagner was a different breed. Closers that I knew, and then Papelbon, myself, Broxton, they're just different. Even Jansen, that's still in LA. They're just something different about those guys than everybody else, even though there's guys in the bullpen that are super good and super great. I mean, there's guys, I don't want to name names because I did this when I played. I named names and then they got really mad at me, but
come on.
Well, okay. I'll name one name because I already named him once a while back. Okay.
You're listening to an interview with Heath Bell, former Major League Baseball All-Star with the San Diego Padres. And Heath played with Mike Piazza, Hall of Fame catcher, Pedro Martinez, Hall of Fame pitcher, Tom Glavine, David Wright, and Carlos Beltran when you were with the New York Mets, Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman, David Price in Tampa Bay during his last year, and during his Major League career, he had a career win and loss record of 38 and 32. His ERA, earned run average, was 3.49. And he had 637 career strikeouts and 168 saves. Now back to the interview with Heath Bell, former Major League Baseball 3-time All-Star, right here in the Sports Deli with Dr. J and myself, Hootie Hoot.
Kyle Farnsworth, that I think is phenomenal. He has one of the filthiest pitches in the game and just a dominant pitcher, but he could never close. He always didn't do his best work closing, but setting up, middle relief, dude, that guy was filthy. And it's just one of those things that it's a different breed where he could do the job once in a while, but he can't do it from year in and year out, or from, April to September.
And just one quick follow-up, the Mets got this closer in the Cano trade, which is going to be a disaster, Diaz, and he was a rock star in Seattle. And I grew up I spent time in the New York area and saw you play when you were with the Mets. And he blows up. He's a disaster his first 2 years, but he's got great stuff. When you lose it in New York, can you ever really get it back when you come from outside, or are they just better off cutting their losses and trading him to the Texas Rangers, where he can probably go back and save 45 games that don't matter?
The Mets and the Yankees, man, that's just a whole new breed. I don't know if the fans will ever forget the first 2 years. Like
Right.
he could dominate this year, and
Yep.
I don't think they'll ever. They'll be like, oh yeah, but remember these 2 years. So it's not necessary that he has to go to a team that's not going to matter. I just think the fans they're, it's like Philly fans, man. They would boo their own team if they're not doing well.
Right.
They cheered on the visiting team to win their own game or to lose the game. So, the Mets just want to win, and they're just so passionate about winning. And them going to the World Series and losing a couple years ago, it just kind of gave them a tease, and they want it back, and then not even going to the playoffs the next year.
Mhm.
I mean, that was like a dagger in the heart and twisted it. So that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your favorite stadium to play in?
Oh, my favorite stadium. Well, the old Shea Stadium, because that was where I debuted, but I'd say the Philly Citizen Field, Citizen
Nice.
Bank, Philly.
Yeah.
The reason I like that is because, okay, so it's unique for me. The stadiums are different because I'm in the bullpen looking at home plate. So like Pittsburgh, beautiful if you're at home plate looking to the outfield. But if you ever stood in the outfield, center field, and stood at home and watched all those games, you would say that's not a very beautiful field.
Right.
Philly has a lot of stuff to look at. And I think it's a beautiful stadium that way if you're looking, towards home plate. But also, it's so small. I always felt like I had to be on my best. And the fans were so ruthless that I had to be on my best. And the fans would jar at you. Fans would always like, hey, Bell, what'd you had about 4 cheesesteaks today? And I'd yell at them, no, I've had 5. And, they're like, oh, then they would yell at me. It's like, you want a beer? Yeah. Where are we going? After the game. So it was always fun to jar at, where like LA, one time we were in first place and they were in last place, and it was like, you guys suck. And I was like, yeah, but we're in first, but you suck. And I'm like, okay. There was no fun there, where Philly was always fun to jar back and forth with the hecklers.
As long as they weren't throwing batteries at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They liked me because I would go have beers with them.
Right.
There you
Exactly.
go.
That's awesome. So say you threw 4 consecutive balls when you entered the game as the closer, and your pitching coach or maybe the manager in certain situations would come out in a crucial game. The minute you saw the coach take that first step up the dugout, were you like, God damn it? Or were you like glad he was coming out and you needed to be calmed down a little bit?
Oh, hell no. I hated seeing them.
God damn.
I hated them. I was like, why are you here? So I had really good managers. They never really, early in my career with the Mets and the Padres, where if I saw Bud Black with San Diego, he'd come out and just go, what's going on? And I could be like, hey, don't worry, I'll figure it out. And he's like, all right, well, if you don't, I'm coming back here and you're gone. So he'd give me that chance.
Yeah.
Where other guys like Ozzie Guillen, as soon as he'd come out, he'd point and I'll be like, what are you talking about? I got one out and I just walked a guy and he's on first base, and the next guy comes in and throws a ground ball double play. And I'm like, I could have done that. You just didn't give me a chance. We were still winning. So it's just different way they manage now. It really is. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. So you talked about the guys that you played with, and I know before games or in between games, you didn't know necessarily if you were going to be pitching that day. You love to shag balls. In the old days, you were a first baseman and third baseman, right? So
yeah,
talk about how much fun you had when you shagging balls, and you wish you could have been an everyday player.
Well, I felt like I was an everyday player in the bullpen. That's why I kind of embraced the bullpen in the minor leagues over starting. But okay. So one of my favorite players, there's 2 favorite center fielders, outfielders of mine. And, they don't want pitchers on the infield because we might get hurt or something. You try to go to first base while the infielders are throwing balls, but then the bullpen catcher does it, or one of the other bat boys. So you go in the outfield, and I just didn't like standing there. A lot of guys just stand there, and I'm like, this is how I'm going to get a bag back, or just, it's going to be boring just standing here. So I went and got an outfielder's mitt, and I started pretending I was Jim Edmonds or Ken Griffey Jr.
Wow.
So, and then early in my career, I had Mike Cameron with the Mets, and became a good friend of mine, but he would go, hey, he'd see me run balls, and, you always had to stay out of the way of those guys. And I'd be bummed out. He would catch a ball, and then he'd be like, don't worry about it. I'm just going to catch balls this round, and then I'm done. It's over to you. And then I actually became a really good outfielder, I think.
That's awesome.
They could have put me out there. But I had actually a talk with Bobby Cox once, and he goes, I've seen you shag, man. You could probably play the outfield. Can you swing the bat? And I go, I can swing it. I don't know if I'm gonna make contact, but I can swing it. So that was a good laugh by him. But he actually told me, and this is one of the cool honors for me, Bobby Cox said he wished he had me in his bullpen.
Wow.
So even though I was never with Atlanta, he said that once, and I was like, man, I'm going to remember that comment forever. But
Legend.
just shagging, I made a game out of it where I would tell the fitness guy, because we always had to run like third group. I was like, if I sprinted every ball, I won't have to do sprints, or I don't have to do, foul pulls. And he'd be like, well, if you sprint all the time. So then I just made a game out of it where I would shag, and then I'd sprint and work really hard. So I didn't have to work that much harder off to the side and stuff. And I just tried to have fun with it. And I would pretend like I was robbing balls and trying to pretend like I was Jim Edmonds. And I got yelled at once for diving for a ball.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ken Griffey Jr. the same way, trying to rob some balls, but it was just, you're out there for 45 minutes watching guys hit for 6 months.
Right. Yeah, right.
It gets boring.
Yeah.
So I tried to just have some games with myself.
That's
so
awesome.
Heath, you probably have an interesting perspective. You didn't retire that long ago. You're coaching youngsters now that are, playing ball. Let me ask you this. They play baseball. Do they watch baseball on TV? And do they follow it like you used to, and like probably me and Mike used to back in the day with the stats and rosters and all that?
Not as much anymore, because you had to follow it in our day. You had to get the newspaper.
Right.
Now you can just look on your phone and see what they're hitting right away.
Right.
But here's the other thing. What I've learned is the way coaches are teaching now, and I hate this, it's do what I say and you'll be good. They've literally taken all the thought process out of this. I actually talked to Joe Madden 2 years after I retired. And he goes, yeah, a lot of players now, they're just robots. You remember, like in our day, it's like, how are you going to get Cal Ripken out? And you had an idea how you were going to pitch to him, or how you were going to hit off Nolan Ryan or whoever it was. Nowadays, they're like, well, what does the scouting report say? Like it's
tricks.
You didn't have to go watch a game and then go, you had to figure it out.
So,
nowadays they just tell you what to do and you're like, oh, okay, I'll do it. So where I try to teach, I want you guys to think. It's okay to make mistakes, but I want you to think. I want you to think, like, perfect example. I don't call pitches, but if I see a kid throw a pitch and he gets rocked, I go, hey, did you want to throw that pitch? Well, I don't know. The catcher called this. And then I said, well, you're the one throwing the ball. And sometimes they'll shake it off and they'll throw a pitch. And I'm like, the catcher gets mad at them. And I go, okay, did you want to throw that pitch? Well, yeah, but the catcher was doing this. Well, did you miss location? I really missed location. I'm like, well, you're not convicted to every pitch. So if you're not convicted, you're going to leave it up. You're going to hang it. I'm trying to teach them the game where,
right.
I mean, these kids are 16, 17, 8 years old.
Right.
And it's like nobody's ever taught them why they're throwing a curveball in this situation. Up to bat with a runner on second base, why they're trying to hit the ball to the right side instead of just swing the bat. Right. So it's like it's trying to teach teenagers that don't listen too much, like why they're doing stuff. Where it's very, very funny to me how coaches in high school don't teach that anymore. Right. It's just do what I tell you to do. Just listen to me and you'll win. Really, it's about the coach winning, not the player.
How nuts were you going in the World Series when Kevin Cash takes out Snell when he's given up like one hit and is on fire and everybody, and the only person who didn't want to take, who would not have done was Kevin Cash. And is that just a microcosm of everything wrong with baseball right now?
He was messaging me when this was happening and he was losing his shit.
I lost my shit. I didn't have a dog. I'm not a former league player, and I didn't have a dog in the hunt for the game. I could care less which team won. I was going nuts. And the fact that the reliever he brought in I don't care what the analytics were. He was not pitching well in the series. And the other thing, you can't put the analytics, I'm talking too much, but you can't put the analytics because it was a shorter time span from which all these baseball players were playing. So all the data gets thrown out the window because it's not at the normal playoffs thing.
Well, let me tell you this about the analytics. I hated that. I mean, it's just horrible. Tell me what analytics says how to pitch a no-hitter.
Right.
I mean, there's no analytics that says pitch a no-hitter. There's no analytics to say how to hit a home run. There's no analytics, none.
Right.
So basically analytics in the game is going to say no more perfect games, no more no-hitters. It's never going to happen again. It's never going to happen. There's never going to be a starter throwing a complete game if he throws one ball. He only can throw strikes. So the analytics doesn't read that. Like Mookie Betts struck out 2 times. Let's just say Snell, he does bad his 3rd time through the lineup.
Right.
Okay, let's just say commonly he does that. Then why do pitchers that throw no-hitters are not the best pitchers in the game? I mean, usually half the time pitchers throw no-hitters, you've never even heard of them. And then you never hear of them again.
Right.
Because the stars were aligned. It all worked out. But then there's also guys like Verlander and, Maddox that thrown perfect games or at least no hitters. Mm-hmm. Snell, it just looked like everything he was doing was working. That's where, like, when I said as a coach, coaches now are not teaching the game anymore. They're just looking at numbers and saying 2 + 2 is 4. And that's it. And a book, nothing else. You can only throw 100 pitches and that's it. Not 101, not 99,
right.
100 pitches.
And I mean, this doesn't happen in any other sport. Eric Spoelstra didn't pull Jimmy Butler out because he was over his shooting limit in the NBA playoffs when he was on fire. He rolls with it, Jim Palmer pitched from 66 to 83, never had arm problem, and his average length was 8 innings. So, I mean, why aren't they looking back on these things?
Just sit in the car. It's just if you're a student of the game now, it's all about the analytics. This is another thing that I hate. Every position player and a lot of pitchers, they literally look at their hand, they pull it out of their hat or their back pocket, scouting report. What does this guy do? Well, we had scouting reports, but we weren't allowed to put it on a piece of paper and cheat. We had to memorize it. Nowadays, they don't have to memorize anything. And that's what I think is hurting the game because, like, nobody bunts anymore.
Oh, God.
Everybody. No. Here's the thing. When in my day, if everybody shifted, and usually shifting was only left-handed hitters. Now they do it with right-handers. It's called shading to one side in my day. Mm-hmm. But what they do now is, remember Cano, I think it did it?
Yeah.
He just bunted. There was no third baseman, no shortstop. He just bunted in Boston when he was with the Yankees, and he hit a double because he ran hard. And then the next time up, they didn't shift anymore. What about doing that? I mean, but analytics says bunting is no good. You cannot win games. I've read something where if a runner's on second base with no outs, analytics says there's no reason to bunt him to third because you have 3 chances to get him home, base hit.
Right.
But I say this, you tell me one pitcher with 1 out likes a runner on second base or third base. Because I'll tell you this, I never liked somebody on third base with 1 out because if I got a chance to strike somebody out, like ball in the dirt on third base, I wasn't going to throw it as far in the dirt as maybe I would, because if it got past the catcher, the run was going to score and it was free run. If he's at second base, I'll bounce it. If I miss and the catcher misses it, he goes to third base, not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But analytics doesn't believe in that. It's about a bunch of people punching numbers in the big league or up in the front office that have never played the game. And that's what baseball's lacking is they don't have a lot of baseball players anymore in the front office. They don't look at guys and say, this guy's a ball player. They look at guys and go, he's 6'6" and throws hard. Okay, he should be a great pitcher. He should be a great hitter. He can hit the ball really far, but can he actually hit for average? Stuff like that.
So you get hired to work in the commissioner's office. what would be the one thing you would recommend the baseball needs to start doing? You're never going to correct everything overnight, but I mean, you would have, I think you might agree that the league is falling behind basketball and football and even hockey on some levels from the rating standpoint. What does baseball need to do to get back where they were a few years ago, even?
Well, if I was working for Major League Baseball right now, what I would try to promote is we need to know about the players more. We need them. Like when I was growing up, I thought so-and-so was like my distant cousin, my favorite
Right.
team. I knew guys. I didn't know anybody in the big leagues, but I felt like I knew them.
Right.
In basketball, you kind of know guys' stories. In football, you know guys' stories. You know where they came from, this and that. Baseball, you don't know anybody. And they could say, well, there's a lot of guys. Well, there's a lot of guys in football. There's more guys in football. So if I was on the baseball side, I'd be like, the guys need to be more personal or whatnot, or we need to promote more guys than just who we think the next stars are.
Do you think part of the problem is the ESPN obsession with always having the Yankees and Red Sox playing, even sometimes when the games don't matter? But that sounds great, but you're not exposing the other players and the other teams out there. Like Thursday night football, Raiders, Chargers, everybody, NFL, every team gets a Thursday night game. And if you're playing well, you're going to get a Sunday night game. And you always get a Monday night game. And you can say, oh, that doesn't make sense. No, it does make sense, because the Chicago Bears is 7-7. The running back is Montgomery. So at least there's some connection. Oh, so if he gets traded or something, oh, that's the guy from the Browns. I liked him.
I think that would be good. I think switch it up. Everybody gets a prime time game. That would be really good. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there, but set it up where there's a prime time game. I mean, ESPN, they promote who they want to promote.
Right.
Like, look at all the ESPN commercials. They just promoted who they wanted to. And I loved all those commercials, but it was like, what about the West Coast guys? We get no love. We go play the Mets and Yankees. Why can't we do something? But they promote who they want to promote.
Right.
And I think they need to at least have one or two guys from every team. So that's kind of that guy that represent. When you think of, like, when you were growing up, didn't matter what team you thought of. When you thought of one team, you were like, oh, I know one guy on that team. You knew him because that was that guy.
Right.
Maybe he wasn't the best player, but he was that guy that you knew. Nowadays you don't know because you don't know.
Right. So you talked about you played with Adrian and Piazza, Hall of Famers Trevor and Maddox, and I used to love watching them. I'm from Detroit. Alan Trammell, Sweet Lou, a lot of the old Tigers. And so now, who do you enjoy watching the most?
Tatis Jr. in San Diego is fun to watch. Mookie Betts is fun to watch because he's always having a good time. I think the players that Machado's a great player, but it looks like Tatis is having way more fun, or Mookie Betts is having way more fun.
Right.
So I like watching the guys that still love the game, that are having fun playing this game, because this game is, it's a kid's game that adults get to play. And those are the players that I love watching, that just have so much fun doing it and kind of have a smile on their face, not necessarily all the time, but they're having a smile on their face, and you can know they're just having fun. It's those guys like Judge, he always looks like he's having a good time. Where John Carlos Stanton is just as good as I think, but it doesn't seem like he's having as much fun as Aaron Judge. So it's kind of that aspect to it. If you're having, and then I love watching pitchers that pitch instead of just going out there and throwing and as soon as they don't have it, their third time through the lineup or something, you could see like, well, I'm at 80, 90 pitches and I'm in the sixth inning, so I'm probably done. And it's almost like they're not trying to be the best they can possibly be or be better than they can possibly be. They're not trying to be like the next Pedro Martinez, the next Greg Maddux, whoever, Jake Peavy with San Diego Padres or whoever. So they're just, it's fun to watch guys that pitch. That's what I like. And then position players, it's fun to watch guys that are having a good time.
Yeah. So John has a Roberto Clemente card. We talked about this with Dan Bruton, used to be a marketing director for Tiger and Kobe and MJ and stuff. So were you a collector? John, do you have a Heath Bell card?
Oh yeah, Heath's in my somewhere. It's there somewhere. I should have looked for it.
I'm a
I've
common
got,
card. We're good.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you,
Yeah.
you and I talked off air a little bit about, some different things going on in the country. And, I respected, what you had to say, and I thought it was interesting, some of your points of view. And we've talked about with everyone who's been a former professional athlete, about the locker room. And you and I talked a little bit about the locker room. And I'm just interested, in your opinion, and share with people that are listening to this. We're in 13 countries already, and we've had a lot of people listening from different walks of life. What could we learn from your experiences in the locker room with people that have different political views, different upbringings, from different demographics that we could all learn from to help move this country forward?
Any locker room, you're a family. It's a brotherhood. It's a family is the best way I can say it.
You're listening to an interview with Heath Bell, former Major League Baseball pitcher and three-time All-Star who had a career WAR wins above replacement of 7.2, which is a phenomenal number. And you can look it up on Google in terms of what it means and what an incredible statistic that is for a closer. And his WHIP, W-H-I-P, his walks and hits per innings pitched, was 1.27 for his career. Just both incredible numbers. And he was just a phenomenal closer for the prime of his career with the San Diego Padres. He played with Carlos Beltran, David Wright, Tom Glavine, Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer, Pedro Martinez, Hall of Famer, Trevor Hoffman, Hall of Famer. He also played with David Wells, Adrian Gonzalez, Jake Peavy, Tony Gwynn Jr., and David Price. And now back to the final segment with Heath Bell, former Major League Baseball All-Star, right here with Dr. J and myself, Hootie Hoot, in the Sports Deli.
Because I don't want, brotherhood, because there's girl sports and, but you're a family in the locker room. So it doesn't matter if you're from the South, you're in the North, if you're Asian, you're Latino, if you're a European player, you're a white player, you're a black player, it doesn't matter. You're a family and you respect everybody and you're passionate for everybody. Like it didn't matter if we were getting into a brawl with somebody, I was going to go back my team. And it was always like that. You go out to dinner with these guys and it's just at the end of the day, we're all a family. And I know we are all looking out for each other because we have our own personal family and we're trying to, get a job and make the most money we can and provide for our kids. And if it comes down to you or me, if I have to go to a different city, like the movie, The Love of the Game, one of Kevin Costner's best teammates, best friends went off to the Yankees because he was going to get paid. And he's like, Kevin Costner was upset because he's like, dude, you're my brother. You're leaving. We're a family. And he's like, that's my family over there, his wife and daughter. But you always have that brotherhood. Like any player that I've ever met that's played professional baseball, not even just the major leagues, professional in baseball, I've always had a respect for it. And the clubhouse, you have so many demographics. You got guys from Dominican, Puerto Rico, from, Japan, from the United States is so well diverse. And it doesn't matter because we're all brothers. We're all family. We're all, going for the common goal. Like right now in society, we want America to be one of the best countries out there. We should all work towards the same common goal, even though we have different political views. I mean, you could be a Democrat, you could be Republican, you could be an independent, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans. You could say you're an African American, you're a Polish American, you're an Italian American, Asian American, whichever, Mexican American. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. We're all want the best for our country and we want the best for our individual families. And in the locker room, we just respect everybody. When somebody comes up and says, like when I was younger, guys, if the union, if the owners aren't going to do this, we're going to strike. Okay. Or we're thinking about doing this. As a young player, like, okay, I haven't made any money yet. I don't know if I could strike. But we're like, okay, I'm going to listen to my elders, the older guys, because they've kind of been around where, you don't listen to the younger guys unless they kind of earn their stripes of saying, and they make sense of what all they're saying. So it's just, I don't know. I just wish everybody in this country could be in a locker room on time, because
Right.
there's so many people that you maybe disagree with, but you all work to the same common goal, is to win that game, to try to be the best you can possibly be. And you don't like, say, I remember the movie 42. You had one pitcher that didn't like Jackie Robinson, so he wouldn't pitch good, or he wouldn't do this. And they got rid of him. The movie I was actually thinking about, I think it's Little Big League, where the kid was the manager, and he didn't like the kid being a manager, the pitcher. So he pitched really bad. And the kid went up to him and goes, okay, well, you're becoming a free agent. Who do you think is going to want you next year? That the guy that can't get anybody out. They can't do this, can't do that, because you're selfish. And then the pitcher started doing better. Where going back to 42, Pee Wee Reese used that one part where he was back in, I forget what team they were playing, and they're all booing Jackie because he was he's from the South, Pokey Reese. Yeah. And he put his arm around him, and they all hated him, and they were like, what? He goes, I just want him to know that you're my brother. The white and a black guy back then was really controversial. Like, you're my brother. I'm going to go to battle for you because you're my friend. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. So I just wish people nowadays would just, we're all Americans. Let's try to make the country the best we possibly can. And let's just respect each other. That's all you have to do. You don't have to like somebody. There's a lot of ball players I don't particularly like, but I respect them. And if they said something, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. But I wouldn't yell and scream at them. So, it's just a respect thing that I think this generation and this country, unfortunately, right now, is we've lost respect for a lot of people. And it's sad to see. It really is. It's sad to see.
Yeah. I appreciate those points of view. It's good stuff. I wanted to shed some light on a topic that's important to you before we get to the famous this or that segment of the podcast. Your daughter has Down syndrome. And so I just wanted you to talk a little bit about her and how amazing she is, and what you've learned from that experience with her as a dad.
So my daughter, she's almost 19 now. She graduated high school last year during the pandemic, didn't get to walk. Wow. That was kind of tough. Oh. She's been mainstreamed ever since she was in 5th grade. Basically she would go to class with all the regular, I guess I don't know how to say it politically correct, but the normal kids that didn't have a disability or whatnot. And she really embraced, let me put it this way. There's 4 teenage boys that took her under her wing in high school. Nobody told her to. Nobody told them to. And they've become best of friends. And we've moved to Texas, and she still talks to them probably once or twice a week because they call her, or she calls them, but mostly they call her once a week. But Down syndrome kids with special needs, they're regular kids. They're regular people. We just put a label on them. They're maybe a little slower, or they have a little OCD or something, but we're all a little crazy in our own little way.
Right.
That we have our own little twerks and kinks and stuff where you can see theirs different. Maybe she's not as tall as an average girl, or you could just see difference in her face instead of somebody else. But they're really no different. They have emotions like everybody else. They're the worst thing about Down syndrome that I think, and it's weird what I'm going to say, is it was Dr. Downs that came up with the syndrome. His last name was Downs. But there was a couple years ago, we needed to change it to Up syndrome because they're the most happy, loving kids that I've ever met.
Yeah.
They'll get mad at you, but literally they'll turn a 180 really quick. It's almost like you give them a hug or you say sorry, and they've totally forgotten about that. They don't hold grudges, and they just love. They just want to be loved, and they just, they just don't understand why some people do the things that they do. They just don't get it. Like, why are you arrogant? Why are you selfish? But they don't understand those words. So they're amazing people. I keep saying kids, but I know a lot of Down syndrome kids. A lot of Down syndrome people that are older than I am. And like they're in Poway of California, where I did live. there's a softball team. It's called the Poway Padres. I could go play catch with those kids or those adults because they're older than I am, and they're good. They actually play baseball.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I don't know. The Special Olympics is just the coolest thing ever. If you ever get a chance to go see a Special Olympics, or you see somebody with Down syndrome, just go talk to them. Go check them out, because they'll uplift your life more than you could probably ever uplift theirs. So it's just amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I used to work at Mesa College, and they used to be there all the time with the Special Olympics, and just watching it was just it was amazing. It was inspirational to see all their excitement, and like just to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and it was so cool to watch just the whole operation.
And they want to incorporate everybody.
Right.
Exactly. They don't care about the spotlight.
Right.
Totally. Or who you are. All right. Yeah. Awesome. Let's get to the this or that. John, you ready? Buckle your seatbelts.
Yes.
All right. Let's rock and roll. Okay. Trevor Hoffman or Mariano Rivera?
Trevor Hoffman.
Nice. Of course. Okay. So you've been married a while. Dishes or vacuuming?
Dishes, because there's a dishwasher.
Yeah, there we go. That's a first, John.
It's very good.
That was outstanding. Okay. Candy or popcorn at the movies?
Popcorn with butter.
With butter.
Exactly.
There you go. All right. Are you ready, John? We're going early today.
Okay.
French toast, waffles, or pancakes?
I like pancakes.
All right. What's your second choice?
Probably waffles.
All right, John.
So Heath, being in Texas and you were in Miami for a while, did you ever come across the Waffle House? You spend any time in Waffle House in your life? Your minor
I've been
league
in the minor
days?
leagues for a long time.
I was going to say, I'm surprised.
Love the Waffle House.
Thank you. And then, so my favorite, which I recommend to everybody, is the All-American. It's the best value out there, where you get the 2 waffles, hash, orange juice, coffee, and toast. And here's a hidden secret that most people don't know. It's not on the menu, but if you ask the waitress, can you up it? Meaning they'll, for like about $1.25 to $2 more, depending on what Waffle House, and you can get 2 more waffles. And then for $10, you're set for the day. Highly recommend it.
Waffle House is probably the best place to eat ever. But then again, it might be the greasiest and dirtiest place too.
Right.
But best place by far. Yeah. Every time I see a Waffle House, I want to go. My wife says no.
Same way. Same.
Would you rather cuddle with a rhino or an elephant?
Oh, rhino sounds interesting. So I'm going to go with rhino. Because I'm thinking of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, the rhino scene. So that'd be kind of fun.
That's hilarious. All right. Food in San Diego, or you just moved to Texas recently, or food in Texas?
I love the barbecue out here, but the Mexican food and the Asian food in San Diego by far the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously you've been to Hodad's, I'd imagine.
Yep. So I'm saying San Diego probably over Texas. Sorry about that.
Yeah. All right. All right. Would you rather hold hands with your wife or wrap your arm around her when you're walking?
I'd like to wrap my arm around her. She's more of a hand holder.
Oh, interesting. Would you rather have breakfast in bed or bring your wife breakfast in bed?
I'd rather bring my wife breakfast in bed.
Nice. What would you bring her?
She likes eggs and potatoes. Like we cut up potatoes and saute them and stuff like that. So she likes that.
Awesome. Okay, so you said that you use your texting app more than anything else, and you have an iPhone. So would you send your wife more heart or laughing emojis?
It's sad. I probably don't do either one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not much of a texter because I see her all the time, so I talk to her. But I'm gonna probably do more of the laughing.
Oh yeah, there you go. That seems like in alignment with your personality. Okay, Linkin Park or U2?
No, Linkin Park by far best band ever.
Yeah, Black Sabbath or AC/DC?
AC/DC.
AC/DC or you said it's the best ever. So okay, Pink Floyd or Rush?
Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Okay, and then Led Zeppelin or Queen?
Tough one. I'm gonna go with Queen.
So Linkin Park over Queen?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Randy Johnson or Greg Maddux?
Oh, Greg Maddux.
He could paint the black like no other. He would
He was
piss
just
people
he was
off.
more fun to talk to.
Right. He can golf too.
Yeah.
Pedro Martinez or go ahead. Sorry, say it again.
No, I just said he had a lot of good pranks. So it
Oh,
was
I
fun.
was going to ask you about pranks. Was he the biggest prankster?
Yeah, but you never knew what if he did it or not. He'd never tell you.
That's so great. Oh man.
Like,
All
I'll
right.
just tell you one thing that he did that every ball player would know, and this is to be true. You never showered next to him. One, he would never wear shower shoes, and because everybody wore shower shoes and they clean the floors. He goes, why do I need to wear shower shoes? Two, you take a hot shower, right?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah,
Well,
of course.
Yeah.
Anybody that took a shower next to him, he would pee on. They would never know that they got peed on.
God damn it.
So-
Okay. Pedro Martinez or Roger Clemens?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna say Roger Clemens because he was kind of my idol growing up.
Yeah. Pedro could move that ball though, couldn't he? Ooh, man.
Pedro was filthy and great. I mean,
Nasty.
one of the best teammates I've had when he was in New York, but Roger Clemens, he was just my idol growing up. I wanted to be him.
Yeah. Scooby-Doo or the Simpsons?
Scooby-Doo.
All right.
Just my
Teenage
era.
Mutant-
Sorry.
Yeah, of course. Well, a lot of these questions are based on your era. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Transformers?
I was a big Transformer kid.
Not a surprise. A Few Good Men or My Cousin Vinny?
Oh gosh, my cousin Vinny. That
What
one's
the hell?
it's funny.
What the
That's-
hell's a Ute? What the hell's a Ute? Okay, so these are pronunciate. What the hell's a Ute? A youth. All right, so pronunciations. Do you say envelope or envelope?
I say envelope.
Okay. Mobile or mobile?
I say mobile.
Really? Wow, that's
Don't know why.
surprising. Caramel or caramel?
Caramel.
Moneyball, Field of Dreams, or Bull Durham?
Bull Durham. Most
Oh.
realistic part.
Mhm. Mission Impossible or Die Hard?
I'm going to say Mission Impossible because my son's got interested in it. We've watched a lot of it together.
Wow.
Okay.
Who's the toughest hitter you've ever faced?
But I love Die Hard. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
don't think my wife would approve of Yippee-ki-yay.
So, okay, so who's the toughest hitter you ever faced?
Todd Helden.
Wow. Interesting.
He hit
Uh,
460 off me.
Wow. Interesting.
All singles though.
There you go. Okay, a couple more. Rambo or Speed?
Rambo.
Right. You love to watch Rambo to just get away from everything when you were playing, right?
Yeah, Rambo was fun to watch.
Yeah. Okay, Rambo or The Matrix?
Oh, Rambo.
Okay, so you have a fantasy camp, and John and I are attending your fantasy camp. Who's got the most potential?
I would need you guys to stand up and walk around. Literally,
Definitely.
I'm going to just throw some dice out there and pick whichever one. I'm going to spin a bottle, whichever one it points at.
Awesome. All right. Well, anything else you want to share with everyone who's listening today? And we really appreciate you taking the time out. You're our first Major League Baseball player to join the Sports Deli, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, I just want to say thanks for having me. And really quick, I'm not going to try to move it too fast, but remember how you said I used to take my kids to school on a bike
right.
in the very beginning?
Yes.
Well, I'm at my mom's house, and she basically has a shrine room of me. But it's true.
Wow.
There's me when
Oh, cool.
my kids were young.
So
That's
there's
cool.
a newspaper article he's showing us with him on the bike and the kid in the back, little carriage, and the scooter.
nice.
Someone is on the scooter behind.
Yeah. So my daughter with Down syndrome is on the back, and then
Oh,
my
sweet.
son that's 17, that's taller than me now, is
Oh,
on the
wow.
scooter.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
That's
then
so cool.
that's my mom, dad, and my
Aw.
kids. Except
Aw.
I had one more after that.
That's nice.
Wow. That's
Cool.
awesome.
Heath, real quick, have you ever thought about going into doing color commentary with like Padres or any? I'm picking the Padres because you played there and in All-Star there or any of those. Because how you talk is how baseball needs to be talked about instead of it. And I'm not knocking it going on right now, but there seems to be the passion that's there is what's needed in the booth and what's needed on these shows instead of it being more scripted, if you will.
Honestly, I've really wanted to, and a lot of people have asked me that I would be really good at it.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a 17-year-old son that's a junior right now. When he graduates high school in a year and a half, 2 years, then I'll be more apt to do stuff where I do have an 11-year-old son, but he loves to draw and build stuff. So he's probably gonna be more of an architect or stuff. I mean, he likes sports. Actually,
Right.
he doesn't like sports, but he's really athletic. If he plays sports in high school, just pick up. But he's not passionate like my 17-year-old. So I'm talking to people and I'm trying to get my foot back in the game anywhere possible. I mean, broadcasting would be really fun. ESPN and Major League Baseball TV wanted me to do some stuff, but I had to fly to the East Coast and I wanted to be home for the kids.
Gotcha.
So honestly, if I get an opportunity in the next 2 years, I'll probably jump on it. And I'm trying to get my foot in the door right now. I've been talking to a couple of people that I know that are GMs or assistant GMs just to bring me to spring training or some to do this for free.
Sure.
Just to kind of get me out there. And I've told some people, I said, bring me in. It'll cost you a plane ticket and a hotel room for like a couple weeks. And you don't have to pay me this year and I'll work for you basically for free.
Good.
And just to see if I'm worth anything, because I believe I am, and I believe I could help out. And TV or broadcasting, I'll start pushing that in 2 years, because I would love to talk about the game. I would love to talk during the game and stuff, and I think that would be really fun.
No, I think you'd be fantastic at it. I mean, I just can see the passion, and I think I'll be honest with baseball needs more of that. Coming through the screen and coming over and how you can relate everything to the common person, but also be able to talk to the fan who follows it, I think is fantastic.
Well, I appreciate that. And hey, if you hear anything open, let me know. I'll go interview.
Definitely.
Okay.
Well,
good.
We'll definitely push for it because it's something that will help the game, and that's what it's all about. It would definitely help the game, and that's what it's all about. So we'll push for it whenever we can.
So,
all right. Well, thanks for taking time. Thank the family, and say hi to everyone for us. They don't know who we are, but say hi to them for us, and we'll stay in touch. We appreciate you.
And stay safe.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yep. Stay safe. All right. Thanks, Heath. That was cool.
That was cool. He's good. I really like him. And I'm right. I know I'm right. The guys the guys you see on I mean, not a knocking. I mean, not that he's ever going to come on the Sports Deli, but I have no time for Alex Rodriguez.
Right.
I don't need to hear about Alex Rodriguez and where he went out for drinks with J-Lo the night before. That's not why I'm watching baseball.
Exactly.
Get me some guy who built his way up, played on a number of teams, and can relate to what's going on. And that's what's problem. It's baseball's totally screwed up.
It is. Yeah, I agree. Well, it starts with leadership. So
I agree. So
and people just want faster paced, things. MMA, boxing, even. Still.
Well, I mean, I think Heath talked about it. The problem is the mindset's changed. You don't see, not even Tom Brady, you don't see a normal quarterback saying, you know what, it's the fourth quarter. We're down by 14. I might get injured. Why don't we bring in the backup? We're not going to win today. Yeah. The pitcher, it's in the sixth inning. I've pitched 89 pitches. I'm 22 years old. I signed a $5 million contract. I think I need someone to come get me. And people hate that. I mean, like I said, with Jimmy Butler, I mean, you don't see Eric Spoelstra pulling Jimmy Butler out when he's shooting 40 times and trying to carry the team to another game. But
in all fairness, you do have load management, though.
You do. Not with Jimmy Butler, but some of the guys.
No, well, that was.
I know you're right. You're completely right. My friends were just texting me today. Apparently, it just came out. I think the Russell Westbrook John Wall trade is going to be horrible for the Wizards. Yeah. I think they're going to regret that trade. And it just came out today. Russell Westbrook and the Wizards have announced he will not play in any back-to-back games all year.
Yeah.
How can you know that in December that you're not going to be ready to play back-to-back games?
Yeah. Well. He's just not a great playoff kind of player. He's going to be great for stats during the regular season.
He's a modern day version of World Be Free.
without kicking his leg out.
Yeah.
All right, what else? Anything else going on? We're getting ready for the college football playoff here pretty soon. Ohio State got a pass.
Ohio State with 5 games. Thank you.
Wow.
And I hope Northwestern beats Ohio State. I want to go on the record right now.
It's not going to happen. They're going to get blitzed.
Of course they are. They're Northwestern. How about your Conference of Champions? Conference of Champions.
Whatever.
With the 3-2 Oregon Ducks.
Jesus Christ.
Because the other team has too much COVID. Nice conference.
And you wonder why the West Coast gets no love.
The West Coast gets no love because here's the problem, and we need to bring them on. We need to bring the Pac-12 commissioner on and explain to me how you are a major conference without a TV contract.
Yeah, it's true. It's ridiculous.
I mean, why do you have the Pac-12 after dark? You know what the Pac-12 after dark is? It's nothing. Nobody watches it. It's the WAC. That's what it is. It's BYU Boise on a bad night. Do you think Wendell will ever join us again?
Depends, I guess. Like my mom said, I don't know if I told you this, but my mom said Wendell was phenomenal. And the more
my mom did too.
Yeah,
my mom did. My mom thought that interview was real. I sent my mom because she knows who Doug Williams is because DC.
Oh, yeah. That's
so
cool.
she was trying to get she knew Wendell. She remembered Wendell. I think she's met him once or twice, and she could tell his voice was deeper than your mine. She couldn't tell between you and I, voice wise initially, because she doesn't watch it on her. Yeah. But she thought it was pretty good. But I think I would love to have Wendell on. The other thing is we got to get the co-author, or now the author, because of the new John Thompson book coming out. We need to get that guy on because there is an excerpt for when John Thompson talked to Rayful Edmonds, who's the biggest drug dealer in DC, when Alonzo Mourning and John Turner, 2 of his players, were hanging out. And it's a phenomenal read. I read that chapter today in ESPN. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Interesting.
So, yeah. Okay.
All right. Great job. See you in a couple days. Good job, bro.
Later, man.
Thanks again to Heath Bell, former Major League Baseball All-Star, for joining us here in the Sports Deli. Again, you can find him on Instagram and Twitter at Heath Bell. Heath is Heath, Bell, Bell, the number 2, the number 1, at Heath Bell 21. And remember, you can always send us an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram at Mike Hootner and on Twitter at Michael Hootner. Thanks again to our sponsor, SportRx. You can find them online at sportrx.com or give them a call at 888-831-5817 and let them know the Sports Deli sent you for your 10% discount. If you're ordering online, be sure to put in the code DELI10, that's DELI10, DELI10 for your 10% discount. Until next time, thanks for joining us. For Dr. J, I'm Hootie Hoot. Remember, please mask up. Black Lives Matter. Peace.